Hey everyone, Justin Allen Montgomery with Procore Start. Today I want to talk about the most valuable asset that you have, which is your knowledge. Think about it. If you are a professional, the most valuable thing in your entire arsenal is the knowledge in your head. Without your knowledge, you're not the professional, right? If you walked across the street and got hit by a car and suffered a really bad concussion, and for some reason, all the knowledge in your head that's specific to your profession, if you lost that, you would no longer be that professional anymore. So therefore, your knowledge is your most valuable asset. It really is. Nothing else is more valuable in your life than your knowledge. And you need to be thinking about this when it comes to developing a continuing education course business or building a new product in your established continuing education course business. Your knowledge is your most valuable asset. Therefore, the knowledge you have in your head, the information that you have in your head, if you can create a product with it, then that becomes a valuable asset to other professionals who might want to buy that, right? Because when your knowledge is your most valuable asset, other knowledge is valuable as well to add on to it, right? It's just like investing in real estate. If you buy one piece of real estate that's pretty valuable and you buy another piece, right? That just adds on to your portfolio. So think about the knowledge in your head as your investment portfolio, because that's really what it is. Like your knowledge is your investment. You went to school, you take continuing education courses, you read books, you watch videos, you continue to learn to turn your knowledge into a more and more valuable asset. And that's what you're doing with the continuing education course business, essentially. You're putting your knowledge on paper. You're creating a course. You're writing an ebook. You're doing webinars. You're sharing your most valuable asset with other professionals so then they can increase the value within their mind. Okay. So they can increase the value of their most valuable asset, which is their knowledge. This is extremely important to realize because it is the motivation behind students who want to buy continuing education course products, because they realize that their knowledge is their most valuable asset. And if they could leverage it to be a better professional, then they'll be a better professional, right? If you can teach them a new skill, if you can teach them some new information, if you can teach them how to open up their own business, they turn their knowledge into a more and more valuable asset. And that's why continuing education in general is somewhat expensive, right? I mean, you can buy any kind of course that you want online for $50 and it's not that valuable. It's $50, right? But if you can actually turn your knowledge into something very, very valuable that other professionals perceive as valuable, you can charge a premium for that. That's the beautiful thing about continuing education course businesses. You don't sell a continuing education course for $50 unless the value in that course is just the CE credit, just the CE hour, right? Like I've said in other videos before, there's three types of continuing education course businesses, right? There's the one where you sell valuable information without CE. That model does work. I know people who have $1 million CE businesses who teach continuing education, but don't actually offer any kind of CE credits. And they do very, very well because people want the information. They want the knowledge. Then there's the CE business where the value is in the CE itself, right? People are just buying it so they can get their CE credit. I'm guilty of it. You're guilty of it. We've all taken little CE courses so we can get a couple more CE credits or hours to renew our license, and we didn't really learn anything, right? We're all guilty of that. And then there's the model where you hybridize both. That's the valuable business. That's the multi-million-dollar CE business. Okay. And so you want to focus in on that value as you build your CE businesses, and you can charge a premium for those courses. All right. If you want to just offer CE, you can offer those courses for $50, $100, or $200. But if you can extract the valuable knowledge within your mind and actually teach something valuable in nature that moves the dial in your student's life, that teaches them a skill that they just can't learn in a textbook. All right. Something they just can't learn on Chat GPT. Most people can learn just about anything using Chat GPT, Gemini, Claude, but to organize it in a way that makes sense, that is simple to learn, something that's actionable in nature. These large language models, ChatGPT and these AI tools, it doesn't do that. But you as a professional who's been in the field, who has expertise, who's actually done it, you can put it together in a way that makes sense. And that's what's valuable. That's what increases everyone's investment portfolio in their mind. You can charge a premium for courses like that. If you can actually create something valuable, you can charge $500. You can charge $500 for a course like that. You can charge $1,000 for a course like that. I have a client right now who has a CE business, and his courses he sells for $1,500, some of them $3,000. And he doesn't even offer actual official CE credits with it. All right. But the information is very valuable to the professionals who are buying it. They want to know how to do that from someone who's done it before. Okay. You can learn anything you want on ChatGPT, but ChatGPT hasn't done it. Like, that's what makes you authentic. You can learn how to start a continuing education course business by just looking up a bunch of stuff online. But has ChatGPT done it? Like, I've done it, right? That's why I hope you're learning from Procore Start on how to actually do it the right way. It's the same thing with anything. And I don't want you to think that's going to be a limiting belief, because people still want to learn from the authority figure in the space. And that's what you are, because your knowledge up here is your most valuable asset. It's just like a piece of real estate. If you buy a piece of real estate and it appreciates in value and then you sell it, you made a profit off that because the value of it appreciated. It's the same thing with the knowledge inside your head. Your knowledge compounds. It continues to appreciate as time goes by. And that is exactly what you're doing when you're teaching students in a continuing education course business. You are enhancing their knowledge. You are making their mind more profitable and more valuable. But you have to figure out, what is it that you know that's truly valuable in nature? I guess one thing you could do is think about what you have done throughout your career. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, if you're a doctor, a chiropractor, a lawyer, a realtor, whatever. Think back in your career, think back over the last 3 years, and what's something that you've done that truly was remarkable? Something that was very impressive in nature. Did you help a client or did you help a patient in a special way? Did you teach another colleague something? Did you start your own business? What was something that you've done that's remarkable? And think about that. And if you can figure out what that is, there's something valuable with that, right? There's something valuable to be said about what it is that you did, using your knowledge, using your experience, and using your skills. Think about how you can then take that and put it in the most simplistic way possible to teach people how you did what you did, right? When I started multiple cash-based practices, that's not a very easy process. It's complicated. It's a lot easier than starting an insurance-based practice, but there's still some complications associated with that. And what I did when I started lead nurse practitioner was I used those experiences and those skills that I developed and the knowledge that I earned by starting those practices, and I created a course simplifying it all. Every single step you need to take, without having to deal with all the headaches and the failures that I had to deal with starting a cash-based practice, right? I simplified it. That was valuable. Same thing with the Procore Start Blueprint. Like, all the failures, everything that I've tried over the last 6-7 years of having a CE business, like everything that I've done, if you take the Procore Start Blueprint, you're not going to experience those failures and those trials and errors. You're not going to experience those sorts of things. You're going to learn exactly what works through all of my experience over the last 6 years, right? You're going to learn those experiences. I simplified it as much as I possibly could. That knowledge is extremely valuable. It's how to build $1 million course business. You have the same thing up in your mind. I guarantee you. It just, what is it? What is it that you are good at? I was consulting with a client the other day who's in our Launch Accelerator program. And I asked her, she's wanting to start a CE business in her space. And she's not really too sure what she wants to do. And we went through everything that she's good at. And I just said, stop. What is it that you know, like the back of your hand? What is something that you just know? Something that you don't even have to try, something you don't have to even think about. And it took her a minute, and she basically told me what that was. And then I asked her, I was like, that sounds valuable in nature. It might not be the most glamorous concept in the world. Like, what it was that she wants to teach is it's not very exciting, but for her profession and a handful of people within her profession, it's going to be something valuable. And she knows it like the back of her hand. And so when she starts developing her courses and the content for her CE business, she's not going to have to spend a lot of time building out that course because she already knows the information, right? Because it's her most valuable asset inside of her mind. She knows how to do it. If you are good at something, you know how to do it like the back of your hand. And I can promise you that there's a lot of other professionals in your space that can't do it. Okay. They don't know it like the back of their hand. It is difficult for them. They don't know how to do that. I can start a CE business relatively easily because I've done it before, right? I know it like the back of my hand, but most people don't. I can start a cash-based medical practice within a month because I know how to do it. But a lot of people don't know how to do that, right? So I leveraged what I knew. And you have knowledge in your mind that you could leverage into a CE business. What is it that you know like the back of your hand? Because that's one of the most valuable assets that you have. It is more valuable than your house. It is more valuable than your 401k. It is more valuable than your portfolio. It is, okay? It is a valuable asset. And most professionals aren't leveraging that. They are not monetizing that at all. When your knowledge is your most valuable asset as a professional, and you aren't monetizing that or leveraging it outside of just performing your day-to-day duties as a pharmacist, as a lawyer, as an accountant, as a doctor, as a nurse, if you're just using it for just the day-to-day work, you are not fully leveraging and monetizing your most valuable asset, which is your knowledge. And to me, I find that absolutely insane. Like, it's like if you owned a duplex in a really, really good part of town, it's a valuable asset that you have. It is a duplex in a good part of town, and you're only charging $500 a month for rent on that when you could be charging $3,000 a month for rent on that. You are not leveraging the potential of that asset. And it's the same thing as the knowledge in your head. It is the most valuable asset that you have as a professional. Leverage it. I think it is foolish not to. Consult with people, mentor people. But if you want to leverage it to the maximum, if you want to leverage your knowledge to the max, create a continuing education course business and scale it. That's how you leverage the most valuable asset that you have as a professional, which is your knowledge. All right. Hope everyone enjoyed this video. If you have any questions whatsoever, please email me, justin@procoursestart.com. And if you want to take the ProCourse Start Blueprint, leave the comment course and I will give you a 20% discount on that blueprint. So if anyone has any questions whatsoever, please let me know. All right. Bye.